Deep in the heart of the Amazon rainforest, there exist tribes that the modern world has almost forgotten. Among their rituals lies one of the most extraordinary tests of courage: young men leaping into nets filled with sharp thorns, a tradition passed down through generations to prove their strength and resilience. These moments are not just acts of bravery. They are powerful rites of passage that define the very essence of manhood in these remote communities. If you're fascinated by hidden cultures, ancient traditions, and the mysteries of the Amazon, make sure to subscribe to our channel and give this video a like. Your support helps us bring more untold stories from the farthest corners of the earth. Deep within the vast emerald expanse of the Amazon rainforest, far from the rivers navigated by traders and beyond the paths cut by modern explorers, there remain communities that the outside world has barely touched. These hidden tribes, scattered across dense jungles and remote river valleys, live in ways that echo thousands of years of human history. Their lives are woven into the rhythm of the forest, where every plant, every sound, every movement of the animals around them forms part of a delicate balance that has endured through centuries. To speak of them is to step into a world where time moves differently, where traditions are preserved with quiet resilience, and where the human story is written not in books, but in rituals, songs, and ancestral memory. The Amazon has always been more than a geographical place. It is a living archive of culture and biodiversity, a realm where the boundaries between humanity and nature are blurred. For the tribes who call this place home, the forest is not merely a backdrop, but a relative, a guardian, and a source of identity. They know the secrets of medicinal plants that modern science has only begun to explore, and they preserve oral histories that carry lessons from generations long gone. These narratives are not written down. They live in the voices of elders and in the ceremonies that mark life's transitions, anchoring communities to their past while guiding them into the future. Many of these tribes remain unknown to the wider world, not because they lack significance, but because they have chosen seclusion as a form of survival. Contact with the outside has often brought disease, exploitation, and the threat of cultural erosion. By remaining isolated, they preserve not only their autonomy, but also their worldview, which is deeply intertwined with the environment. Their isolation is both a shield and a statement, a declaration that life, as they define it, does not require validation from the outside. Among these groups are communities that still practice ancient initiation rites, marking the passage into adulthood with trials of endurance and courage. In some villages, young men undergo painful ceremonies that test their spirit as much as their bodies, a way of proving to the community and to themselves that they are ready to carry the responsibilities of adulthood. These practices, while startling to outsiders, are profound acts of cultural continuity. They are not merely rituals, but bridges across time, connecting today's youth with ancestors who lived and thrived in the same forests centuries ago. The material culture of these tribes is equally remarkable. Houses are built with intricate knowledge of local materials, designed to endure heavy rains and shifting seasons. Tools and ornaments are crafted not only for utility, but as expressions of identity, carrying symbols that link individuals to their clans, their myths, and their gods. Music, dance, and storytelling remain central, reinforcing bonds within the community, while reaffirming their place within the cosmos. Every gesture, from the painting of bodies before ceremonies to the sharing of food during communal gatherings, is imbued with meaning that extends far beyond the visible act. Yet the existence of these hidden tribes also raises pressing questions. The modern world presses closer every year through logging, mining, and encroaching settlements. Satellite images reveal clearings where forest once stood, edging nearer. to territories that have remained untouched for millennia. For these communities, survival is no longer only about adapting to the cycles of the forest. It is about navigating the pressures of an expanding outside world that threatens to erase them. Their story is not just one of isolation, but of resistance, endurance, and the fragile hope that they might continue to live according to their own rhythms. The hidden tribes of the Amazon stand as reminders of what humanity risks losing when cultural diversity is diminished. They embody alternative ways of being, perspectives that challenge the assumptions of modern life. Their wisdom is not merely anthropological curiosity, but a living resource, offering insight into sustainable living, spiritual depth, and the intricate interdependence of all life forms. To recognize their presence is to acknowledge that the human story is far richer and more varied than the narratives of cities and nations alone. Across the world, from the vast Amazon rainforest to the open plains of Africa and the icy tundras of the Arctic, one theme has remained constant throughout human history. The passage from boyhood to manhood is rarely left to chance. In many indigenous cultures, this transformation is marked not only by symbolic gestures, but by rituals of profound pain and endurance. To understand why, one must step into the worldview of these societies, where maturity is not measured by age alone, but by the ability to shoulder responsibility, to confront fear, and to demonstrate an unbreakable bond with the community and the natural world. For these communities, pain is not viewed as an enemy, but as a teacher. It strips away the illusion of childhood invulnerability and reveals the resilience buried deep within the spirit. In the Amazon, young men may endure trials such as inserting their hands into gloves lined with venomous bullet ants, their skin burning with hours of relentless stings. In other regions of the world, scarification, fasting, or grueling hunts test both the body and the will. These experiences are not designed to inflict suffering for suffering's sake, but to awaken a deeper awareness, a recognition that strength, humility, and responsibility are born from hardship. Endurance becomes the bridge that carries a boy across the invisible threshold into adulthood. When he returns from the ritual, marked physically and emotionally, the community sees not just an individual, but a transformed being. The scars, the memories of pain, the triumph over fear, these become lifelong emblems of identity, proof that he has walked through the fire and emerged ready to serve, protect, and contribute. In cultures where survival depends on cooperation, this transformation is essential. A man who has endured cannot easily abandon his people. His suffering binds him to the collective in ways that words never could. These rites also hold spiritual significance. Pain opens the door to altered states of consciousness, where visions, dreams, and ancestral voices are said to reveal themselves. Endurance in the physical realm is often seen as preparation for endurance in the spiritual realm, where guidance is sought not only from elders, but from forces beyond the human world. In this way, rituals of pain are not simply physical trials, but sacred journeys, shaping the inner life of the initiate as much as his outer role in society. From the outside, such practices may appear extreme, even cruel, but within these cultures, they carry a different meaning. They are acts of love disguised as trials of suffering. They ensure that no boy enters adulthood untested, unprepared, or unaware of the responsibilities that lie ahead. To endure pain is to learn discipline, to conquer fear, and to step forward not as a child clinging to innocence, but as a man capable of sacrifice. In a modern world where the markers of maturity have often blurred, the endurance rituals of indigenous cultures remind us of something timeless, that growth requires challenge, and identity is forged not in comfort, but in the crucible of struggle. These rites of passage endure because they speak to a truth that transcends geography and culture. The Transformation of the self requires both surrender and strength, and only through hardship can one truly emerge renewed. Deep in the heart of the Amazon, where the forest canopy shuts out much of the sun and the air vibrates with the hum of life, there exists a rite of passage that speaks to the very essence of endurance and transformation. Known as the ritual of the thorn nets, this ceremony is one of the most striking demonstrations of how pain becomes a sacred language in indigenous traditions. For the young men who undergo it, the ritual is not only a physical ordeal, but also a spiritual awakening, a moment where their boyhood is left behind and a new identity is forged through suffering. The ceremony begins at dawn, when the village gathers in anticipation. Elders, adorned with ceremonial paint and carrying the weight of ancestral memory, prepare the space with chants and offerings to the spirits of the forest. The thorn nets themselves, woven from vines embedded with sharp wooden spikes, are carefully constructed in the days before the ritual. Suspended above the ground, they form a lattice of pain that the initiate must confront head-on. To the outsider, they may appear as instruments of cruelty, but within the community, they are sacred objects, embodying both trial and transformation. As the ritual unfolds, the young men are called forward one by one. Their bodies are painted in intricate patterns that connect them to their lineage and to the spiritual forces believed to watch over the ceremony. Before stepping onto the nets, they are reminded of the meaning of this trial, that life itself is filled with obstacles, and that true strength is measured not in avoiding suffering, but in facing it with dignity. The initiate then leaps into the net, his body pierced and pressed against the thorns as the community watches in silence. The suffering is immediate and intense. Thorns pierce the skin, blood flows, and cries of pain echo through the forest clearing. Yet the young man is not abandoned. Elders chant around him, their voices weaving a protective circle, guiding him through the storm of agony. The women of the community sing ancestral songs that remind him of his place among his people, and the children watch with wide eyes, witnessing the transformation of a boy into a man. The symbolism is layered and profound. The thorns represent life's unavoidable hardships. The nets symbolize the interconnectedness of community, and the act of leaping is a metaphor for the courage required to face the unknown. Pain, in this context, is not senseless. It is a passage, a purifying fire that strips away the self of yesterday and reveals the self of tomorrow. The blood that stains the earth is seen not as loss, but as offering, a gift to the ancestors and the spirits, affirming the initiate's readiness to carry the burdens of adulthood. When the ordeal is complete, the young man emerges battered but transformed. His scars are not hidden but celebrated, physical testimonies to his endurance and courage. The community embraces him no longer as a child, but as a man who has proven his resilience and his commitment to the group. The suffering he endured becomes a shared story, retold in future ceremonies as inspiration for those who will one day leap into the thorn nets themselves. For the people who preserve this ancient ritual, the thorn nets are more than a test of endurance. They are a mirror of life, a reminder that to live fully is to face suffering without fear, to recognize that pain and beauty, blood and renewal are inseparable parts of the human journey. The ritual, passed down through generations, ensures that every man carries not only the memory of his own suffering, but also the collective wisdom of his people. Among the hidden tribes of the Amazon, courage is not merely an individual trait, but a sacred quality that binds a person to their people and to the forces that govern the natural world. Pain, in this context, is more than an ordeal to be endured. It is understood as a gateway, a threshold between who someone was and who they are destined to become. When a boy faces the sharp sting of thorns or the venom of ants, he is not simply proving that his body can withstand suffering. He is entering a psychological and spiritual dialogue with himself, his community, and the unseen spirits of the forest. The psychological dimension of these rituals is profound. Pain confronts the initiate with his deepest fears, stripping away illusions of comfort and forcing him to encounter vulnerability head-on. In those moments of anguish, the young man learns that courage is not the absence of fear, but the mastery of it. Elders often say that when the body screams, the spirit awakens. The ability to remain steadfast, to endure without fleeing or surrendering, becomes a testament to inner strength that no words or symbols could ever replace. This resilience, once tested, becomes the foundation upon which manhood is built. On the spiritual level, pain is seen as a purifying force. It cleanses the boy of his childhood self and opens a channel through which ancestral wisdom can flow. During moments of suffering, visions are said to arise, flashes of spirits, echoes of ancestors, or dreams that reveal truths about life and destiny. In the silence between cries of agony, a deeper connection is forged, not only to the individual's own soul, but also to the collective spirit of the tribe. Pain becomes prayer, endurance becomes offering, and courage becomes communion with forces larger than the self. Honor is another essential dimension. Within these tribes, honor is not something granted automatically by age or bloodline. It must be earned through trial. When a young man faces the ritual, he does so not only for himself, but for the eyes that watch him, his family, his peers, the elders, and the generations yet to come. Each moment of endurance signals his loyalty to the group and his readiness to protect it. Without this shared experience of suffering, acceptance into the circle of men would remain incomplete. Pain ensures that his courage is visible, undeniable, and forever etched into memory. Community acceptance is perhaps the most powerful outcome of all. The ordeal does not isolate the initiate. It unites him with his people. His screams are heard, but they are not mocked. They are honored as evidence of sacrifice. His scars are not hidden, but displayed as living proof of his journey. The tribe welcomes him back from the trial not as a boy returning wounded, but as a man reborn. In this way, the individual's suffering becomes a communal victory, a reaffirmation of collective identity and resilience. Through these psychological and spiritual dimensions, courage is elevated beyond simple bravery. It becomes a transformative essence, one that reshapes the self and deepens the bonds between the individual, the community, and the sacred. For these tribes, pain is not cruelty, nor is it meaningless suffering. It is the fire in which courage is tempered, the sacred passage through which strength, honor, and belonging are granted.